Okay, two dots. Basically, just to quickly recap what happened there. In the Mishnah, we had an argument. If once you're zeicha something on behalf of somebody else, and it's a benefit to them, they're kind of straight away. That's called a schus, and we said that it's kind of either because of shlichus. There's a cost of the different approaches by the Rishonim, but there's an argument remaining whether freeing an eved kanani is actually an advantage or a disadvantage. Is that a good thing as schus, or is that a chayv? Rameir says that that it's a chayv, excuse me, it's a chayv for the eved to go be set free, and therefore the owner can continuously change his mind. And the Chachamim say that no, it's a benefit to the eved to be free. So Rameir said to them, "What do you mean?" That's right. The Chachamim said the reason why it's a benefit for the eved because there's no advantage in remaining in eved. What's the advantage? That he gets provided for. The owner, if he wants to, doesn't have to. The master doesn't have to feed the eved. Ashenk and a wife, he has an obligation to feed her all the time. So obviously there's an advantage remaining married. But with an eved, if the master doesn't want to feed him, he doesn't have to. So there's no advantage really for the eved to remain in eved. Might as well be free. And Amir responds, what about an eved of a kohen? As an eved, he can get truma and he can go begging the doors, and to buy truma with that money, truma is very cheap. He can get a sufficient truma to support himself. But if he's free, he can no longer buy truma. And then it's much more expensive to take care of himself. So there is a disadvantage of being set free. Now, I'm to say, but he belongs to the kohen. He's a kinyan. As soon as he's no longer the eved, he goes free. What exactly is the response? We have no idea. I think Gemara will explain later. Okay, two dots. Says the Gemara, we're going to have an interesting argument here between Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. We know when it comes to your wife, you have to support her. But you and she both have the right to say, like Abuna said, you have the right to say to her, you know what, you go earn your own money and take care of yourself. But the thing is, if she cannot support herself, you have to supplement her income. Rav Huna says that the wife has a right to turn around to the husband and say, I don't want you to take care of me. I'm going to take care of myself, and therefore some of the obligations that I have to, the reciprocal, payments to you, I don't have to give you anymore because I can take care of myself. That's with a wife. When it comes to an eved, he definitely can say to the eved, go out there and work and take care of yourself, support yourself. And if you don't earn enough, too bad. What's the point of me having an eved where he can't even earn enough to cover his to feed? So what am I having you for? I'm not the supplement you. The machlekes is going to be, does he have a right to say to David, I own you. Everything you earn belongs to me, but I don't have to feed you. How you going to live? Go get tzedakah. Ask people for help in tzedakah. But all your work, everything that you earn, every penny you earn goes to me. Does he have the right to say that? We're going to have an argument now between Rav and Rabbi Yochanan. I'm going to try to bring different proofs. Either way. Kanani, only Kanani. By Nebuchadnezzar, we say that you have to, you have to give him everything. Have one pillow. Remember, the Taisa brings into condition. I know that. But if you have one pillow, you have to give it to the Eved. All these things. But the Rambam writes, even Kanani, you have to treat him like a mensch. This is the halacha, but that's not the right. It's not appropriate to behave this way, but just more technically. Okay. As Rabbi Yochanan himself, who said that you don't have to feed him at all, he used to feed his Eved before himself. He was just talking academically, let's say. Said the Gemara. Just 6 lines on top of the page. If the master, what the Chacham say, he doesn't have to feed the slave. It seems from here we can learn. Yochel harav. It seems that Yochel harav le'eved. A master can say to his slave, "I say you work for me, and everything that you earn belongs to me. And I don't have to feed you." That's what it seems. And in fact, we'll see later. Rabbi Yochanan Taka holds that. And we'll see soon. Rav said, no, wait. You don't have to interpret that in the Mishnah. You know what the Mishnah means when he says that the master can tell the Eved, I don't have to feed you? You're saying to the Eved, you go earn. No, but I'm giving you the right to earn money, and I'm giving you the right to keep that money. But you don't have to feed you, which is very different than saying whatever you earn belongs to me, and I'm not going to feed you. The contrast is when it comes to a woman, the Amallah, he tells her go work and earn your own money and feed yourself. So what's the difference in Eved and Isha? You're telling me that for an Isha, it's a chayv to be freed, and for an Eved, it's not a chayv, because you say my Eved, he doesn't really have to feed, he can tell him to work. He tells something to his wife. What's the difference? Isha Mailoi. Says the Gemara, Isha by a wife, but the loy sup, if a wife does not earn enough money, you have to supplement her. So the Mori Evan Namla Sabik, what about Evan if he doesn't have enough? Don't you have to supplement him? What's the difference? Mori said, no, you don't. After the Noam Karsei, Lo Shavi Lamari Lamarta, Evid, the Noam Karsei that had bread that does not fill his stomach, Lo Shavi Lamari Lamarta, is not worth anything to his master and mistress. If it costs them more than what he brings in, the ROI is not there, the return on investment. So why keep the Evid? So therefore, what are they even for? So if it doesn't equate to what he eats, then why would the master mistress want him? So in other words, buying Eved, you can tell him go work for yourself, and if you don't earn enough, too bad. That's why it's what do you call it? It's better for the Eved to go free. and Mashenke, he has no advantage of staying with the master because the master can make it work in hand, and if he doesn't earn enough, too bad. Mashenke by a woman, if she wasn't enough, he has to supplement her. So for her, she's taken care of, regardless. Even if you make her work, she's still taken care of one way or another. So for her, it's a disadvantage to be, it's a chayiv, and for him, it's a zchus. That's what the Chum say. First, here it says every to go a miklat for math. If a slave had to go into exile in Ori miklat, ain't Rabbi chayiv l'zayna. His master is not obligated to feed him while in Ori miklat. Not only that, while he's in Ori miklat, any work that he does, all of those earnings go to the master. What does it show? Seems from here, he doesn't have to feed the Eved, and yet he keeps all his earnings, as if to say, I don't have to, I own you, but I don't have to feed you. Like the initial Hava Mina we had, which is what Rabbi will say. Clear that a master says to Eved, work for me, it's all mine, but I don't have to feed you. So he said to him, again, like we said before, say he's not saying that everything here belongs to me. He's saying you're an Ori miklat, I have nothing from it. Whatever you work is for yourself. So what does it say over here that all of his earnings go to his master? And for Ked, the earnings go to him. He has to buy food. So I told him, so but it says he needs $100 a day to live, and he earns 150. That 50, that excess goes to the master. Says the Gemara, of course he goes to the master. He's a slave. He just gave him permission to earn enough money to survive. No, Mao would have out of thought. I would have thought in logic. If let's say he needs $100 a day to support himself, he only earns $50 a day. The master doesn't have to supplement that income. So if he makes an excess, maybe the master has no right to that excess either. Because isn't that the flip side? If he has an excess, maybe the master doesn't right to take it. But no, any excess he earns belongs to the master. That's the chiddush. So you might ask a question. That's what we're talking about generally. That the master said to the servant, "You work for yourself, and whatever you earn, take for yourself to live, and any excess I'm keeping. And if you're not earning enough, insufficient amounts of funds, I'm not going to supplement it." He's ma'aseh not Ori miklat. So why talk about a case of Ori miklat? What's the relevance of Ori miklat here? It's undo Ori miklat. It's a principal question. What is the duties of? What are the obligations of a master? No, I would have thought it says in the pasuk. It says v'chai. It says by Ori miklat, it says that the person should go to Ori miklat and he should live over there. So I would have thought, you should say, maybe an Eved in these circumstances are different. Because it says you have to take care of these Rotzchim who go there. So I would have thought that the Eved also is included in this V'chai, that maybe that here you have to let him keep the excess, because it's the V'chai, you got to let him live like a mensch. Marshal, not when it comes to slaves. That's the finish. Said what are you talking about? Let's continue. Let's draw the contrast and see if your pshat really fits in. It says, Avalisha, a woman should go to Ori miklat. She went to Ori miklat. By l'chaim, and her husband has to feed her. Miklal, if it says by a wife that you have to feed her, Miklal delay amala. Obviously, he's talking about that he did not tell her go work for yourself, because if he told her go work for yourself, what do you mean he has to feed her? She feeds herself. The fact that you say you have to feed her sounds like you did not tell her go work for yourself, so you have to provide. And the contrast is by an Eved, you don't have to. So it sounds from here that even if you did not tell the Eved, you can keep your own earnings. I'm keeping every cent that you earn. Still, I don't have to feed you. Back to our original understanding. Because if the husband did say to her, go earn, when he has to chayiv mazonos. Since when it comes to a wife, it's talking about a case where he did not say to her, go work. So when it comes to Eved, also did not tell him to go to work. Work for me. Everything you earn belongs to me. But I don't have to feed you. So no. Again, like we said before, it's talking about he told him to work. But the Isha believe stuff because she didn't earn enough. Chayiv mazonos, you have to supplement it. By an Eved, you don't have to supplement. Said, what do you mean? The next case it says, but he told his wife, go work and earn yourself. Rasha, he's allowed to. The fact, the very lax clause is he told her to go earn and keep your money. So the clause before that is talking about that he did not tell her to go earn her own money, which means by Eved, he did not give him permission to keep his earnings. And yet it says he doesn't have to give a few. The case before, when it comes to the wife, he did not tell her work for yourself. This is how you read the Bryce. That no, in both cases, he told her. The first case, he told her go work, and if she doesn't earn enough, he has to he has to supplement it. Mashenkin Eved, he works, doesn't earn enough, too bad. But then the last case is the if she earns enough. If he earns enough, that means he doesn't have to supplement it. Of course, he's allowed to. What's a chiddush? If he's allowed to tell her to go to work, he doesn't earn enough, he supplements it. He cannot tell her to go to work and she does earn enough. If she earns enough, of course he's allowed to say that. What does that mean? It doesn't mean Rashi says that a woman shouldn't go to work. Interesting what Rashi says here. Rashi says here, in your own town, you know everybody. Familiar. So people will bring you, let's say they want you to do certain things for them, knitting, sewing, fixing things, whatever it is. They'll bring it to your house. She's home, and they bring it to their house, and she does her work there. But because there's an Ori Miklat, she doesn't know anybody. She has to circulate and try to create a geschäft, to create business. So that we would have thought it's inappropriate to have your wife door knocking from house to house to try to garner some business. It's called kvuda bas melech pnima. The covenant of a bas melech should be pnima inside. That's what we would have thought. Kamar Shalom, that no, he still has the right to say to her. That's the chiddush here. Says Gemara, let us say this very question about whether you can say to Nebet, I'm keeping all your earnings and I'm not feeding you, is actually an argument tonight. In a hunger year, what's the case there? It comes to hunger year when it's very, food is not really plentiful. I'm giving you an ultimatum. Either take care of me, or set me free. Or set me free. And the Chachamim say, it's up to the master. Sounds like that the Chachamim say he doesn't have to feed him. He can say to them, I'm keeping all your earnings, I'm not feeding you. Go get stuck, I don't care. And Rav Shimon Rule says, no, you can't do that. Either you take care of him, or he has a right to demand from you to set him free, because you cannot not support him. You cannot avoid supporting him. You must support him. So it's clear, it's a machlekes. My lab, one says, what you can say, I don't have to figure myself, but any yochel can't. So you want to be tizbra? I'm going to ask you a question. You can understand Rav Shimon Miller saying what that the master cannot say to the Ebed, work for me and I'm not going to feed you, right? So that's why the Ebed can say either feed me or set me free. So hi, what do you mean or set me free? He should say oy parnaseni, or he should say the words. Why does he say either feed me, free? He should say, or feed me, you're telling me that the master has to say that you're telling the master says, I have a right to keep all your earnings. What the Ebed should say is, let me keep my earnings. This is an ultimatum. Ultimatum should be either you feed me and I'll give you all my earnings, or let me keep my earnings so I can live. Not set me free. That's a drastic step. If the whole question here is whether the master has the right to say, I'm keeping your earnings, I don't feed you, he should say, no. Let me in hunger year, I got to, nobody's giving me any shluck or anything else. I need to keep my earnings. But another question. Why are they arguing about a hunger year? If not a hunger year, if it's a principal question whether the master can say, I'm keeping your earnings, I'm not feeding you, why talk about hunger year? And talking about this, what happened? He said to him, go work and keep your earnings. Well, again, we're going back to the second way of the Tartzen. If a master has absolutely no right to say, work for me and I'm keeping all your earnings and I'm not going to feed you. No, it's about work for yourself and keep the earnings. But the problem is with the Shnei B'Tzeides Leisipik. In a hunger year, he gets paid very little and he doesn't have sufficient funds to support himself. So Rashbag says in this case, nothing to do with that principle, different question altogether. The Eved has a right to say to the master, either feed me properly so I can live, or you set me free. And why? What's the mile of being free? You're already working and you're not earning enough. I think that people will have more rachmanis on me if I'm a full-fledged Yid than if I'm an Eved. Because when you set me free, an Eved Kanani becomes a full-fledged Yid. And if I go door knocking, people see a Yid, everyone will open up their purses and help me out. If I'm an Eved, they all think, you're a master. What do you want from us? Go to your master. Very interesting. The Rabbanan say those people who have compassion, the compassion is unlimited. They say a person is hungry. Do you think they make a whole pulpul? There's a guy Is the guy an Eved or no? It seems to me, I haven't seen anywhere, that this machlekes is told in the Gemara, machlekes in the Gemara about Basna of Chesem and Aleph. There's machlekes in the Gemara two Amoraim there. When a person comes to you for food or a person comes to you for clothing, a person comes to you they're hungry, and a person comes to you naked. One of them you interrogate before you give him, and the other one you just give straight away. And the machlekes is what's worse, shame or pain? Because hungry you're pain. Now, which one do you think you're a fraudster? But being naked or half dressed is shame.
We have the same machlokes.
We did it before, but Rabbi Yehuda. Yeah, exactly. Same principle. But that's Tanoim. This is Amoraim. So there, one mandama says, when it comes to hungry, you don't ask any questions. So that's what that's what Shimon is saying over here. Sorry, that's what Chum is saying. If a person comes to you and you're hungry, you don't start making a whole interrogation. Who are you? Are you an evidence? You don't make an interrogation. A guy's hungry, you feed straight away. So what do you have to set you free for? But the Shimon says no. That's only when it comes to shame. When it comes to pain, it could be fraud. So you have to interrogate. You interrogate, you'll find that the guy is an evid. You'll say, go to your master. What do you want from me? Like people who are very wealthy that come to raise money for a Mosid. Most people feel you can pay it yourself. I have to give you some support you. Or you're the son of somebody who's a very wealthy guy and try to raise money for a Mosid. They'll tell you, go to your father, go to your Zayda. So that's how people are. Okay, taking my further. So not arguing. Neither have I. So that's what do you call it? So that's maybe the machlekes is not arguing a mitzvah. Are people compassionate? Not. The machlekes is whether you interrogate or not. And if you interrogate, you'll find out he's an evid, you won't give him. But if you don't interrogate, you just give straight away, you'll give him. And l'chayda, that's the basis of this machlekes. And not that I say that, but l'chayda, that's the machlekes. Anyway, I think about it. So coming in. Rav said, okay, let's continue. Rav said, now this is a din of Rav. If you go ahead and you say that the earnings of my evid, or the hands that will have earnings of my evid, I want it all to be hegdish. So now that evid has a problem. That evid, if he goes out there and work, he's allowed to work, but everything that he earns is already hegdish. If it's worth a pruta, but so if he earns less than a pruta is not money. It does not go to hegdish. So what does he do? How does he live? He borrows money. And he eats. And he earns. He works for that person because you work somebody else is less than a pruta, and he works less than a pruta. He can never work more than a pruta. If it accumulates to the value of a pruta, his earnings, he goes straight to hegdish. So he works a half a pruta, okay, and that's it. Paid you off. So he borrows and pays. Don't we see from here that what happened? The master completely is makish all of his earnings. That means the master has a right to say to the Eved, you continue working for me, but I don't have to feed you because he has to go borrow money. So it's clear, like the Havamah he had. No, the master actually is feeding him. He needs more. The master is giving him the bare minimum. He worked out exactly how many calories you need to survive, and that's what he gives you. But he needs more than that, supplemented. So therefore, that's what is this whole people. So Rav is saying here is that a master can say to him, work for yourself, but keep your earnings. But here is talking about the master is actually feeding him. That's why the master is keeping all the money. Why is the master keeping all the money? Because the master is feeding him. He has every right. But the problem is he's feeding just the bare minimum. But Happy Allah is good enough. So therefore he needs to survive. He needs more, he needs keiches and everything else. So that's why you have this rules over here by borrowing and working less than the person. Says Gemara, so why can't Hegdish say to David, we don't know yet about less than a proof? So Gemara asks this question. Let Hegdish say, Hegdish say to him, what do you mean? You're earning money, all the money should go to us. You need extra. You didn't have extra before. This is what the master gave you. Why should Hegdish go for Nichle? So Hegdish first of all is happy. Hegdish is happy for the Eved to eat a bit more, so he'll have strength. Because now he belongs to Hegdish. Hegdish wants to use him, but if he's a skeleton, what's the point? So the Gemara. So what's the scheme that he works and whatever he earns he gives back to the people and the money. Every single cent that he earns automatically becomes hegdish because the master was makdish yidei Isam. So the Gemara, the pachas meshava pruta. He earns less than a shava pruta. So the Gemara, in fact, it makes sense. In fact, it makes sense that that's takip shot. And knows that Rav really holds that a master has no right to say to the Eved, I'm keeping all your earnings and stuff and figure it out for yourself, go get stuff. Not at all. And when he was makdish yidei Isam, it must be talking about that the master was feeding him at the time. It's not enough. Hachinam proved you for another din that Rav said, and the only way you can reconcile the two is if you believe it. Rav said, if somebody makdish the hand of an Eved, he said, if you makdish the hands of an Eved, the Eved can go and work, because the Eid law of if he doesn't work, man palachle. Who is going to feed him? What do you mean going to feed him? You said the master has to feed him. Okay, it'd be a minimum, he has to feed him. Here you're saying, who is going to feed him? Which sounds like what? Who's going to feed him? Now, so it's a contradiction. It's a contradiction between the two. Because before you said that he has to borrow money in order to survive. And here you're telling me, Evan, go work. What do you go work? Before you said he can't work. Before you said that he has to borrow money and then pay it back. Oh, God, ganze meise. How do you reconcile these two Ravs? If you tell me that the previous case is talking about that the hands all became hegdish. How did the hands become entirely hegdish? That means he cannot earn a cent for himself because the master is feeding him. That's why and the master cannot say to him, I'm keeping all your food and too bad on you. No, that the master is feeding him, so he has a little bit. Now he's borrowing to get supplement. And so then, but this case here, the second case of Rav, where he says that you have Rav in this case here says to the Eved, go and work. Otherwise, who's going to feed you? That means whatever you earn, not less than pruta, whatever you earn belongs to you. What do you mean it belongs to you? It belongs to Hegdish. No, it doesn't. Because the Rav cannot tell the Eved, all your earnings belong to me, I'm not going to feed you. The fact that the master in this case is not feeding him at all means that the Eved has a right to work for himself, because the master cannot say to an Eved, I'm not going to feed you and I'm keeping your earnings. If the master is not planning to feed the Eved, then the earnings belong to the Eved. Right? That's what Rav holds. And therefore, because it belongs to Eved, we say to Eved, go work, and whatever you earn, you keep for yourself. That's how we reconcile two Ravs. The first Rav says nothing belongs to the Eved. Everything about the Eved became hegdish. And this one here, that no, the Eved can still work and keep that. Must be talking about there, he gives him a zaynus, and here he doesn't. That means a Rav cannot say to an Eved, ever, I'm keeping all your earnings, it's all becoming hegdish, and I'm not going to feed you. That you can't do. That makes sense. Who has to feed him? The bastard feeds him. That's the only way to understand the two Rav. So Rav clearly holds that the master cannot say to the Eved, I'm keeping all your earnings, I'm not going to feed you. So Toshma, coming here, however, you should know that not everyone agrees with Rav. Rabbi Yechon, it's a general rule, whenever Rav and Shmuel argue Rabbi Yechon Ish Lakish, the halacha is always like Rabbi Yechon Ish Lakish. Toshma coming here. And then Rabbi Yechon said, yad you went ahead and chopped off the hand of your Eved. Now, there's normally 5 payments you have to make. Nezek, Tzadi, B'Shev, Zabaysh. We don't have that on Achayvu. And the question is, but the Eved belongs to a master. Who gets all of these things? So, but first you have to pay for cutting off the hand and the valuation of the Eved. So obviously the master gets everything. Then you have a thing called Shevis. Shevis is that even though you cut off his hand, he can no longer do the job that he's meant to be. He's going to be a diamond schleifer, cutting diamonds. He's no longer capable of cutting diamonds, but he could be a shemek yeshuin. He could be a watchman, a guard. And like,
sidetrack. Why would the other get tzar? I understand the other.
We'll see him in the tzar. But it's his possession. We'll see him in. So there's a thing called Shevis. Shevis is, but while he's recuperating, even the lower job he cannot do because he's recuperating. You have to compensate him for that as a night watchman or a watchman. You cut off the hand of your friend, of your Eved, of your friend, is I'm not sure why we have to call him a chaver. Anyway, nice in shiftoi v'refuas his shevis, his unemployment, and the healing, the cure, the medicine and all that. The money goes to the master. That Eved, how does he feed himself? He's not working from tzedakah. What do you mean? Everything is going to the master, and the master doesn't feed him. Where's Eved get the food from? From tzedakah. Oh, 1 second. Clearly holds that the master gets everything from the Eved. He owns the Eved completely, but he can tell the Eved, go climb tzedakah, go collect tzedakah. Said the Gemara, no right. Maybe my skin let's learn until now. Talking about a case where the master is giving him food, but not enough. Needs him in not extra. So the Gemara, then the wording is wrong. Nizen means the basics. Mispanis means extra. If you're telling me that his stuck is only for extra, you should have used the word mispanis. You're right. Rabbi Yechon argues with Rav. He says that a master can say to Nevid, all your needs belong to me. I'm not giving you a cent. It's like such a cruel halacha, but that's how it is. Now we'll ask what you may ask. Loisa shifta before so Rabbi shifta. First of all, shifta pshita. If he's unemployed, who does he work for? For his master. Now that he can't work for the master, who loses out? The master. No, of course the money goes to the master. What's the shaila? For us, right. The chiddush here is about the medicine bills. Talking about it for us in the day. What do you mean? The whole purpose of getting all this money to cover his medical expenses is for the Eved. Why is the master keeping the money? The boy Yitzuybe, he needs to be cured. Said no, nobody's talking about here. Talking about a case. We assess that it'll take 5 days to recuperate. He needs 5 days worth of medicine, so therefore we charge this mazik. We charge them 5 days worth of medicine, but $100 a day, $500. And then the doctor gave him such strong medicine, which is quite painful. But 3 days is all cured. So now the Eved is ahead by $200. But the Eved had sa'ad from this immediate cure. Who gets to keep that $200? I would have thought like said the payment belongs to the Eved. The Eved is the mammon of the Baal, Kinyan Gufa of the master, and therefore everything goes to the master. Time you learn. Exactly. Don't be a slave. Bottom line. It's amazing that Shulchan Aruch still, quotes all these halachas and thing, and we constantly throughout Shulchan Aruch talk about avodim. Noshrim avodim. Who had avodim in the times of Shulchan Aruch? Eber Kanani is the way he was. Eber Kanani. Who had avodim like this? Tell you learn. Especially in times of Mishnah Berurah, and he still talks about avodim. For who? Now the Gemara will go back to our Mishnah, explain the argument here. We said to that mayor, interesting, they call him mayor. Have friends, no that mayor, no titles, no coverage. They didn't learn. Rabbi Akiva's Talmud, the mayors of Rabbi Akiva's Talmud, didn't give cover to each other. Look what happened and during Surah Zaymer. Now the next batch, mayor, Shimon, they call him mayor. Where's the cover? I don't know, but you would think that by now they would have learned the lesson. They would say that mayor. Anyhow, mayor. It's a good thing for them to go, so the master should be able to change the mind. He argued, and why is it a chayv? He adds a point, like says my mission. If this Eved was the Eved, if his master was a kohen, as a kohen, he can get truma, and if he can get truma, even if he has to go earn his own money or he goes to collect tzedakah, he can buy it cheap on the market. Truma. Now the obvious question is, what about if he's not the Eved of a kohen? So no, but you're only arguing with us if he's the Eved of a kohen. There's an advantage in remaining an Eved, but if he's not the Eved of a kohen, you'll agree with us. There's no advantage. So at least be minded to us in most cases, but we'll ask later. That's what he's arguing with. So it's a disadvantage. It's a chay for the Eved. What are you talking about? If the master doesn't want to feed him, even while he's an Eved, doesn't have to. So there's no advantage really in remaining an Eved. Maloni said to us, what do you mean? What happens is the Eved of a kohen shabarach. In order for the Eved, in order to be freed, he has to give him a shtar shichr. What happens if he flees? So the Balabas can't free him, set him free. So he's anywhere abroad, and he can now earn or collect money, whatever it is, and use that money to buy truma. Life is cheap. It's a machaya. Ma'yev kohen shabarach. The age of kohen shemar. That's a cold man. He's an Eved. He has an advantage. Or the wife of a kohen shemar who rebels against the husband, they can continue eating truma, but if you set them free, you can no longer eat truma. So it's a chayv. Rav Meir argues. Now we all agree when it comes to women, it's a chayv, but we're arguing about an Eved. But he's saying an Eved of a kohen can flee and continue eating truma, and you can buy so cheap. So the Gemara says, Isha, we agree with you. We agree with you, but Isha taka, it's detrimental. She came poslam in that truva. She doesn't get provided for anymore. And while he's the husband, he must take care of her. Okay, so obviously it's a chay for her to be set free. So what's exactly the discussion? What's the response to this? This is what he said to them. You asked me regarding that Mazanis. He said to me, "What? That he doesn't have to feed him anymore. So there's no advantage in Evid remaining in Evid because the master, if he wants, doesn't feed you. He can say to Evid, according to Rav, go work and earn yourself. According to Yechon, too bad. Go collect zakah. Or the mata sheveni al truma. What about my argument about truma? While he's the Evid of a coin, he can, whatever, earn money and buy truma, which is so much cheaper than chulin. So there's this disadvantage. If you want to tell me that also, if the master wants, he can just give him a get shikhr, and possibly he won't be able to treat truma anymore. No, there's no advantage in remaining in Evid because he's always at the whim, the mercy of his master. He can just whatever he wants, just toss him out and give him a get shikhr, and he can no longer eat truma. So he never feels secure anyway. So there's no real chayv being set free. No, he could always run away, and the master can't find him to give him the get shikhr. And while he's abroad, he's the Eved of a kohen, and he's allowed to eat. The Asia's kohen, while he's an Eved, while she's married. Okay, we already agreed. There's no argument that if a woman it's a chay, but we just bring it in. But why is it ever going to eat truma? Now he can't. Now he can't eat. The man has a valid argument. What's a Chacham's answer? Why there's no chay for the Eved to be set free? That's what they said in the Mishnah. The Pneishu Kunyana. What do you mean Pneishu Kunyana? Very simple. What are you telling me? That the Eved, it's a disadvantage to be set free because if he's an Eved, he can flee, he can run away, hide, and they'll never find him, and he can continue eating through Machaya. No, he can't. Because since Kunyana shall master, what the master does? He goes to another Yid and he says, I'm selling you my Eved. Doesn't matter where the Eved is, I can it's a commodity that I own. I can sell it to somebody else. And I through Kini Kesef, I give that person the money. The Eved now no longer belongs to me, and that person's a Yisrael. But the Eved can no longer eat Truma. So I can, even if the Eved runs away, I can stop him from prevent him from eating Truma anymore. So there's no advantage in remaining in Eved. So it's merely a schus and no chayv. So you can go ahead to another Yisrael and take force to lose him, and that disqualifies the Eved from eating Truma anymore. So there's no advantage in the Eved remaining in Eved. What's the only advantage? You can eat Truma and run away and hide, and nobody can stop. No, yes, he can stop him. If the master is angry, he'll go and sell him to another Yisrael. Finished. His Truma is over.
Is the smach that he's the property of the
yeah, he is the property coin.
But if he's run away from
he's still a property coin. He needs to get shikhr, as we learned of the mal of all the holes in there. Yeah, I'm going to say, wherever he is, he can no longer truma. So okay, that's the argument back. But let's go back to Rameh. Rameh's argument is only by a kohen who works, Eved works for a kohen. When Eved works for Yisrael, then there's no advantage in remaining in Eved. What's Rameh's argument? What's the argument regarding the Eved Yisrael? While he's an Eved, he can live with a shivcha kananis. So all avodim, it's a chayv. Because while they're an Eved, he can live with a shivcha kananis, doesn't need a bas chayrin. And when you set him free, he can no longer live with a shivcha kananis. And that's a disadvantage. So what do you mean? Before he was he couldn't live with a Yiddish woman, now he can. Opens the whole door with a whole new clientele. So the Gemara, an Eved would much rather remain an Eved and live with a Shivcha than with a Bas Yisrael. Zilale, because he doesn't have respect for her. As a Shivcha, he doesn't have respect for the Shivcha. Shchichale, she's always available. And Pritzale, she'll do whatever he wants. But a Bas Chayden, you have to have that chedes for. There are all kinds of rules how to treat your wife with respect. And you have to love her more than yourself. He thinks too much responsibility. So Avda Befkeda Nichle. And over here, Hefkeda means not that he wants to be free. Forget, he wants to remain an Eved, so then there's no rules and regulations and pritzes and so on and so forth. However, the Chachamim say, you're right, there's a mile in being an Eved, but the mile in being free is freedom. And freedom is worth everything.